All right, let's dive into a topic where the stakes are, well, literally life and death. The massive and often totally hidden gap between real professional firearms training and some seriously dangerous instruction out there. Let's get right into it. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? In this world, there are no do-overs. Every single move, every piece of advice you get, it has a consequence. This isn't some hobby where you can afford to learn by trial and error, because the errors, they can be absolutely catastrophic. So why are we even talking about this right now? Well, it's because the demand for firearms training has exploded. And with that, we've seen a flood of so-called instructors pop up out of nowhere. People teaching without licenses, without the right credentials, and frankly, without a clue about the danger they're putting people in. And let's be super clear here, this is not about paperwork or red tape. An unlicensed instructor is a dangerous one, period. They're dangerous to you, they're dangerous to your family, and to anyone else on that range. The real question is why? What makes them so dangerous? Well, when you get bad training, the consequences really boil down to two major categories. And trust me, you don't want to experience either of them. First, there's the risk of severe, life-altering physical harm. And second, there's the kind of legal disaster that can completely wreck your life. Let's start with the physical danger, because it's incredibly serious. The source material gives us a chilling, real-world example from a training exercise that just went horribly, horribly wrong. I mean, you look at this incident, and it's just a complete chain of failure. The instructor didn't provide a throat guard, had zero medical plan, and there was no range safety officer, an RSO watching over things. The result? A student was shot point blank in the neck. He was unconscious in seconds. Look, this wasn't an accident. This was pure negligence. And believe it or not, it gets worse. Here's another case, this one from a so-called tactical pistol course. This one ended in a fatality. So the instructor makes a whole series of terrible calls. They didn't bother to check if students had any prior experience. They ran a hotline, which means loaded guns everywhere. And then they had total novices doing complex appendix carry drills. The tragic but predictable result? A student shot himself through the femoral artery. He bled out before anyone could even help him. It's just a brutal reminder that the protocols are there for a life or death reason. And this terrifying reality leads us right into that second danger, the legal nightmare. If you ever have to use your firearm to defend yourself, your training and your trainer are going to be on trial right there with you. Every single decision you made will be picked apart through the lens of how you were taught to act. I want you to just picture it. You're on the witness stand. The prosecutor gets up. First question, who trained you? Then they lean in a little closer. And were they licensed by the state? And then the knockout punch. Can you prove it? Because guess what? The burden of proof is on you. If your instructor was a ghost in the system, your legal defense just got a whole lot harder. And here's the cold, hard truth about the legal system. Ignorance is not a defense. Saying, but I didn't know he was unlicensed, isn't going to protect you one bit when you're facing charges for using some tactic he improperly taught you. Okay, so that's the scary part. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. What does being licensed actually mean? It is not just a piece of paper. It's a whole system designed to weed out the incompetent folks and, keep the public safe.
To put it simply, a licensed instructor has been officially checked out. They've met the state's standards for safety, their curriculum has been approved, and, this is huge, their training is designed from the ground up to be legally defensible. It's the absolute baseline. It's non-negotiable.
When you put it side by side like this, the difference is it's night and day. On one side, you have a professional with a proven curriculum and liability insurance. On the other, you have some amateur with unproven, made-up methods and no insurance, which means you are the one on the hook. It's not even a fair comparison. Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually spot one of these dangerous or unqualified instructors out in the wild? They don't exactly wear a sign, so you have to know what red flags to look for. Here are the biggest warning signs. If they can't show you a state license or proof of insurance, that's an immediate deal breaker. Just walk. If they skip safety briefings, if they're pushing you to do risky drills without the right gear, or if they can't even give you clear documentation of the class, those are all signs to get out of there. And let's put it this way. If you're seeing those red flags, you're not a student in a training course anymore. You are a future defendant. You are quite literally a lawsuit waiting to happen.
So, to pull this all together, we're going to give you a tool you can use immediately. It's a simple, repeatable checklist for vetting any potential instructor to make sure you're dealing with a real professional. All you have to do is ask 5 critical questions. Ask what specific licenses they hold. Ask if they have insurance, because if they don't, you're the one holding all the liability. Ask for references you can actually call and check. Ask about their curriculum to make sure it's standardized, not something they just made up. And finally, ask what kind of official documentation you'll get at the end, because that's your proof of training. And listen, this right here might be the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. A real professional will welcome these questions. They'll be proud to show you their credentials. An amateur, a fraud, they're going to get defensive. They'll get offended. And if that happens, you have your answer. Just turn around and walk away. So at the end of the day, just remember this. Your training is the legal foundation for every single action you might have to take to defend yourself. Choosing an instructor is every bit as serious as choosing a lawyer, because one day your freedom could absolutely depend on it. So we'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. We don't let doctors practice medicine without a license. We don't let electricians work on our homes without being certified. So why on earth would you ever trust someone to teach you how to use a deadly weapon who isn't licensed and verified to do so?